If you're excited for all the new anime this season, but you're not sure which ones you should actually watch, then this is the perfect tier list for you. In it, Poxel and I are going to tell you which anime to look out for, which anime you can ignore, and which anime will be a must-watch this season. Poxel, why don't you say hi real quick?
Yo, what's up?
Well said, well said. So let's get right into it. Obviously, this is a fall 2022 anime tier list, but this is a bit unconventional. There are 4 tiers, and it is a combination of our personal opinions, how we think we are going to enjoy these anime, and also how popular do we think these anime are going to be this season? How well are they going to be received? So the first tier is sleep. That is the tier that will literally put you to sleep. It is going to be slept on, but is also so boring that it warrants being slept on. Sleeper is the tier like Odd Taxi. It gets slept on that season, but it is so good that at the end of the season, people give it a chance and they decide it's some sort of modern classic. Hype, we'll get into in a second. Peak Fiction, you've all seen it before. Your JJKs, your Demon Slayers. It's good, or it's really good, but it gets so hyped on Twitter. You know, Peak Fiction, goated, modern classic. It gets so hyped on Twitter that it's to the point of overhype. Hype is somewhere just below that of it's good, you think it's good, or you know it's good, and people on Twitter know it's good too, but it's not quite that hype level of Twitter where you would honestly be annoyed about it. It's not like AOT. So Poxel, I'll have you start working from the bottom up of this tier. What do you have for sleep?
So for sleep, I have 3 that I put in there. 2 of them are kind of tied because I didn't really know the series very well. But the first one, and probably the one that's gonna get the biggest backlash in this video on, is gonna be Blue Lock. My reason for putting Blue Lock down there is because I feel like it's gonna be one of those shows that everybody watches like the first episode and then they just stop watching. It doesn't look nearly as interesting as people saying, and I think we were talking about it a little bit ago. I honestly feel the same, where I feel like it's gonna be like a God of High School like adaptation. Like it just feels like they're gonna adapt like 20 chapters an episode. I also put the Welcome to Demon School iruma-kun season 3. For one, I didn't really know the series very well. I tried to watch some moments from it and it just didn't really interest me very well. It wasn't very funny, not my type of humor, and it literally put me to sleep. And then the other one was Golden Kamuy season 4. And I just watched the trailer and it didn't really interest me at all. But it might also just be because I haven't seen season 1 through 3. What about your sleep ones?
So here's my sleep tier from bottom to the top. At the bottom, I have Blue Lock. This anime just gives me Record of Ragnarok vibes in the worst way possible. It is hyped up by manga fans, but then all I hear is how it is like the worst parts of soccer or football. Like it's just very selfish characters in the worst way possible. And it, with everything else this season, it just looks like it's gonna be boring, honestly. Like, am I really gonna watch this over Chainsaw Man? After that, I have To Your Eternity. I think that is gonna be an anime that, you know, I would maybe hear an argument for sleeper, but honestly, that season it came out, and I could be wrong, but it just wasn't that hyped up. Again, with this season, this is going to be a recurring theme. With what we have at the top, I just don't think it's going to be able to compete. And then finally, and this is going to be a bit of a controversial take, I have My Hero Academia Season 6. Normally, I would put My Hero in the hype tier, just because it's My Hero, it's obviously a great story. However, you have the very recent inconsistency in the anime quality that's been getting worse, I would probably say, since season 4. So with season 6, this is a really good arc, but I think that inconsistency is going to continue. So when you have that versus Bleach, Chainsaw Man, Mob Psycho, I think people are just going to go, you know what, I'm just going to not watch it, especially after season 5. Okay, so we did have some similarities. Blue Lock, I think, is a pretty safe sleep tier, but why don't we save the other ones for the end of the video? So now we'll move on to the sleeper tier, and I'll start it off this time. I have Uzaki-chan, then iruma-kun, and then Urusei Yatsura. Let me explain why I organized it the way I did. Now, when this anime's first season came out, a lot of the hype was really just the controversy around the main character, and I don't really need to explain that. All I can say is there's 2 reasons for the controversy. Now, the reason I don't think it's really going to be much higher than where I put it is because I just don't really see that hype continuing into season 2, especially with another comedy anime this season, or a few actually. After that, we have iruma-kun. Now, I would hear an argument for hype. I think this anime, this is where we differ. I think this anime is really funny. I think it's just kind of weird. I think that's why it doesn't catch on with people like Komi-san or Kaguya-sama. I think it's just a little weird. People just don't get it. But again, I think because of that, it's going to be slept on. But then finally, Urusei Yatsura. I will openly say I have no idea what this anime is about. I just know like a brief summary. However, 2 reasons why I think this is going to be a sleeper. 1, it's by Takahashi, who wrote Inuyasha, so obviously, you know, you have that quality there. And then it's going to be produced by David Productions, the people who make JoJo's and Fire Force. And I love Dave Pro. I think everything they do is great quality, and you can tell that already from what they're showing us. So I think this anime is going to be a sleeper. Pokesel, let's move on to you. What do you think?
So my sleepers, I only have 2, and that's going to be Urusei Yatsura, or however it's said. I watched the trailer, it seemed pretty funny, and it seems like something that will be hyped up quite a bit, but I still feel like it's going to be slept on. And also, this is like a brand new entry that like almost nobody knows about. Like, I haven't seen it trending, I haven't seen any information on it, but it seems like it has potential, and it seems like it's pretty good. Something that might like take a little bit of time.
Well, it's not a brand new entry, but I hear what you mean. Like, it's new to a lot of people.
Yeah, like I hadn't heard of it until you were explaining what it was about to me a little bit ago, and I watched the trailer. And then I have MHA Season 6 in here. Similar reasons to you, however, I feel like MHA Season 6 is going to look amazing. It's just not going to do well at first in the season. A lot of people are going to sleep on it. And my reasoning for that is the same as why you put in sleep, because Season 5 was so poorly adapted, which is probably the result of them working on a movie at the same time. So I feel like Studio Bones saw their numbers drop, and they're going to try to make a comeback with Season 6, and it's going to take a good chunk of the season till that comeback actually like starts going, because if this arc is animated right, it will blow up.
I think you make a reasonable argument. I will definitely hear arguments like yours that this is going to be more of a sleeper than sleep. I think really what it comes down to is how well is it going to be produced, because this is a great arc. I know it's not everyone's favorite necessarily, but this is a really good arc. So it really comes down to how well is it going to be put together. But I think you made a pretty solid sleeper tier. So now, Pokesel, I'm going to hand it to you. Let's start off with the hype tier. What do you have?
So I'm going to go from my, like, the thing that I think is going to be the most hype in this tier to the thing that I think is the least hype in the hype tier. And the biggest hype thing is Spy X Family. I mean, Spy X Family blew up last time it was airing. Like, it was talked about everywhere. The manga sales went up a good chunk. Heck, I bought the entire manga myself. It was just really great, really wholesome. And it was like the wholesome series of that year. And I think it's going to just continue, like, especially since, in my opinion, Spy X Family just continues to get better and better as you continue in the story. So, like, I feel like the fans have seen nothing yet when it comes to the story. And then the second thing I have in hype is To Your Eternity Season 2. Yoshitoki Oima is a well-known author in the community, and I think To Your Eternity Season 1 did really well, and a lot of people were really hyped on it. So many people made videos about it. The YouTube community kind of rated it as like the second best thing in that season, if not the best thing in that season. For me personally, it was my favorite thing that season. And I just don't think, especially because where the arc progresses inside of Season 2 and how To Your Eternity kind of grows and like rotates throughout the story, I think the second season is going to do even better than the first season did. And then the final thing I have in hype is Uzaki-chan. And this is mostly because the thing is due to the drama around Uzaki-chan, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to want to hype it up again for the memes and are going to want to help make it blow up again for the memes. And I think just because of the meme community, it's going to do really well and be hyped up a lot on Twitter and like all over the place. So that's my hype tier. What about yours?
So here is my hype tier. Starting from the bottom and working up, I have Golden Kamuy Season 4, and then I have Spy Family. So the reason I have Golden Kamuy at the bottom of hype tier is because although it is not the most talked about thing, on Twitter, and again, I might just not be in the right timeline, the manga is really popular. Everyone who reads it loves it. The ending was great, so I think a lot of the hype from the ending of the manga is going to carry into the anime, and people who liked the ending hyping up the anime. And also, it is entering one of the arcs that people really hype up. Now, the reason I have Spy Family in hype tier and not peak fiction tier is obviously for all the reasons you said. Spy Family is really good. I love it. Obviously, I have my video talking about why you should read it. The reason I don't think it's going to be peak fiction is because, similarly to what happened with JoJo's, they did the whole part 2 thing, and I honestly think that killed some of the hype. And at least with me, I heard differently. So in my experience, the hype for this show died down a bit as it reached its later episodes in the first core, but I heard everyone else say that people were consistently talking about it. So at least in my experience, the hype isn't quite what it was when it first came out. So while it's still there, I think it's just short of peak fiction, especially with the other 3 anime that we have left, or the other 3 anime that we still need to talk about. I think when you have those anime competing with it for attention, even though everyone will enjoy it, I don't think it's going to be the most talked about thing. So on that note, why don't we move into the peak fiction tier?
So if you're not a fan of the words peak fiction, goat, raw, fire, click off of the video.
My peak fiction is going to be starting from the top to the bottom. I think Bleach will be the most hyped thing in peak fiction, then Chainsaw Man, and then Mob Psycho 100. I think Mob Psycho 100 is really, really good. It's really, really popular. I just think the reason why I have it in the bottom of peak fiction isn't because I don't think it's as good as Bleach and Chainsaw Man, but more so I just think Bleach has its entire fandom that's been building up for years. All these people that have been pushing for it to come back, and it just has this entire old school fan base that everybody wants to get into it. All these new people are hearing about its new return, so they're going to be jumping on it. And then Chainsaw Man is one of the, if not the best-selling manga without an anime in this year, is what I'm saying. And it just has gotten so much hype. This anime has been yelled for, so that's why I have those 2 in the top 2, and I have Mob Psycho below it. But what about your peak fiction?
So interestingly enough, I actually have the exact same answer. I have, starting from the bottom to the top, I have Mob Psycho, then Chainsaw Man, and then Bleach. So let me explain how I came to my answer. Similarly with Mob Psycho, I think people are going to really enjoy it, but I don't think the hype, especially when it's during the same season, I don't think the hype is going to be able to stand out from the hype for Bleach and Chainsaw Man. Now, pretty much the sole reason I have Bleach over, well, I have 2 reasons. The first reason is that Chainsaw Man is only going to be 12 episodes. So although I would ordinarily expect people to be more excited for Chainsaw Man than Bleach, I think what's going to happen with Bleach is, 1, there's going to be a bit of a recency bias as Chainsaw Man ends and Bleach continues, where people just watch Bleach and they start to think it's better. And the other thing is, like you said, I just think people are going to be more excited for the return of Bleach, and I think that's going to feed into the hype. But having said all that, we are at the end of the video. I know I said we would try to make a definitive tier list, but we have answers that are different enough. So let me ask you this. I know we already talked about it, but let me see if I can't get a bit of a conclusion on it. I know we both put Bleach over Chainsaw Man, but what do you think it would take for Chainsaw Man to come out over Bleach? Like, when all is said and done, come winter 2023, and we are talking about the fall season, right? What do you think it would take for people to place Chainsaw Man over Bleach?
Where Bleach and Chainsaw Man end off on in December. Because if it's only going to be 12 episodes, they're not going to be able to adapt 97 chapters in 12 episodes. So this season, that would mean that Chainsaw Man is going to end off on, it's still covering decent stuff. It's just not covering the best of the best. Whereas Bleach is going to be covering the best of its arc. which is why I don't think it does, unless like Bleach's animation falls off after episode like 4. Because like you have to think, because in December where we're gonna end off on in Bleach is we're gonna end off on like probably, like I'm not gonna spoil, but probably the whole identity training that Ichigo goes through. Like that's probably what we'll reach in December by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that is a pretty safe take. I think it'll really come down to where will Chainsaw Man end, what will it adapt, and then also, obviously, how will each anime look, how will each anime sound, all that good stuff. So, I think that's a pretty good way to end the video. I think we pretty much got all of our predictions out of the way. At this point, guys, if I haven't already shown them, I'm going to show you our respective tier lists. So, at this point, I want to ask you, what do you think is going to be sleep? What do you think is just going to be not worth watching at all? What do you think are going to be the sleepers of this season? What do you think is going to be the next odd taxi? What do you think is going to be hype? And what do you think is going to be peak fiction? What do you think are going to be those anime that are good and they're so good that you get sick of hearing about them? Poxel, is there anything you would like to say before we close things out?
Subscribe to Shonen Ouji.
I think that is the most scientific thing anyone has ever said in this channel. Guys, make sure to check out Poxel's channel. I'm sure he'll have some great content while Bleach is coming out this season. But until then, thank you for checking out our tier list. Thank you for listening. And the both of us hope to hear from you soon.
Bye.